2 seconds to go. Puts it up and scores at the buzzer. Oh, the man is out on the field.
That's another knockdown. He's not getting up, Jim. He got up.
You believe in miracles? Yes.
You are now listening to the All Things Sport Podcast with your hosts, Daimeon Banks and Pierre Banks on Spreaker Radio. Fellas, you know what to do.
What's happening? What's up? What's going on? It's the All Things Sport Podcast, and I'm Daimeon Banks.
And of course, I'm Pierre Banks.
Pierre, another week of ATS, as I love to affectionately call it.
Yes, sir.
The All Things Sport Podcast, where you and myself give our listeners all thing sport. Pierre, what's going on, my man?
It's going all right now, man. How the sleepless nights going? Young Loxley treating you all right?
The sleepless nights continue in the Banks household here in the Banks Boy Studios in Durham, North Carolina. Have a 5-week going on 6-week-old daughter, Loxley. She is a rambunctious little girl. Love her to death, but she does not sleep longer than an hour and a half these days. Shout out to my lovely wife, LaShawn Banks, as well. Today is her birthday. She is 21 years young. So,
wow.
Happy birthday to the missus, man.
That is awesome, man. 21 years old, man. You must be a very lucky guy.
I like them young, fresh, and green.
Happy birthday to my beautiful sister, LaShawn Banks, and all the women out there. You make the world go round. We love and appreciate you. Last weekend was Father's Day, man, and fathers just don't get the credit that they deserve. Mothers do a great job, but get a dads a little credit too, man. And I'm going to do that later on in the show with my All Things Sport Real MVP.
Yeah, Father's Day was last week, and it was my first Father's Day. Had a great day, man. I actually the family, we were all in Cornelius, Lake Norman, Charlotte area for my brother Telly. He was getting married, so he married his beautiful bride, Jill. They are currently on their honeymoon in Jamaica, man. So
welcome to the family, Jill.
Shout out to Telly and Jill, man, for on their nuptials. It was a beautiful ceremony, and Father's Day. My Father's Day was spent on the highway coming back to Durham, and Father's Day was also Game 7 of the NBA Finals, man. Pretty interesting day for your boy, man. I was on the highway for the first part of the day. My wife, she had a bit of a case of strep throat, man. So we went to urgent care, got her taken care of, got her medicine. Missed the first half of Game 7 of the finals on TV. I was able to listen to it on the radio, but Father's Day was definitely interesting for me. My first one of many more to come, I am sure.
Yeah, not a father yet on this end, but maybe one day I'll have little Carlito Brigante. I gotta take after my dad, man, who named his son Telly Savalas, aka Kojak. So I'm gonna go and name my son Carlito Brigante.
You know good and damn well that Melody is not about to allow you to name your child Carlito Brigante. Again, another week of the All Things Sport Podcast. We'd like to thank all of our listeners for sticking with us, for making this show one of the top rated shows, on the podcasting circuit. You can download the podcast on banksboy.com. Also, you can look at our YouTube channel, read our blogs, follow me on Instagram and Twitter at SportsByDaimeon. You can follow Pierre on Instagram and Twitter _my_humble. Again, we thank you.
Do check the In My Humble YouTube channel, because Daimeon and myself just released a video asking, what does LeBron have to do to get the credit that he deserves, man? It's unbelievable right now that the guy just finished winning Game 7 of the finals, bringing his team back from a 3-1 deficit against a team that had the best regular season record in the history of the league. On the road, averaged over 29 points a game, over 11 boards. That's his third championship, third finals MVP. What does he have to do for you guys I shouldn't say you guys, for most of America to stop hating on this man. It's unbelievable.
Well, my answer to that question, Pierre, can be found again on banksboy.com. Click on the YouTube link. We have that video up, man. I am giving a passionate plea to all the LeBron haters out there. Stop it. Cut it out. Give that man, put some respect on his name, as Birdman loves to say.
But in actuality, every great player has had his detractors. Every great player has had that legion of fans that just love to hate him. And, you know, LeBron is no different than Kobe was, or Mike was before him, or Magic, or Bird, or any of these great players. And now you have Steph Curry, who's starting to gain that traction of people not liking him. So it's just a long line of, you know, being a great player, having your fair share of player haters.
This is true, man. But like the song said, man, if you ain't popping, then you ain't got no haters, man. So I guess LeBron is popping because he has plenty of haters.
He does.
Let me tell you right now, man.
It was very interesting to see the amount of people that dislike Steph Curry as well, man. I thought he was well beloved by all of America until this NBA Finals started, and it was like a country divided, really. You know, you had half the country wanting LeBron James to bring home another title, first to the Cleveland Cavaliers franchise, and then you had the other half, you know, rooting their hearts out for Steph Curry. And, you know, Draymond Green really did some damage to that fan base, because after he did what he did in these playoffs, not just the finals, even in the Western Conference Finals, a lot of people fell back from rooting for those guys. But you know, sports are such a polarizing thing in this country, in the world, really. And it's just interesting to see from sport to sport, year to year, season to season, what will happen next.
Exactly. Now, I think we've already gotten to our hot topic, man, talking about the NBA in this past finals between the Cavs and the Warriors. And let's go ahead and get into it, man.
The All Things Sport Hot Topic.
Game 7, Pierre, on Father's Day. The NBA Finals, the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Golden State Warriors. You got the unanimous MVP, Steph Curry, you know, in a Game 7 at home versus one, LeBron James. We all know the outcome. We all know what happened, man. Cleveland, they shook up the world, like Ali say, man. They shook up the world. They beat Golden State on their home court to capture the first championship in Cleveland Cavaliers history. Talk a little bit about, Pierre, what Golden State did wrong, not only in Game 7, but in the entire series, and allowing Cleveland to come back from a 3-1 deficit.
Well, it's much of the case that you live by the sword, you die by the sword, and Golden State's sword is the 3-point shot. And at times during the series, it didn't fall for them. And Game 7 was one of those times. And it's unfortunate for them because they did have such a wonderful regular season. They did have such a great NBA playoffs run, including coming back themselves from a deficit in the Western Conference Finals. But, you know, in the end, you know, hindsight is 20/20, and you can say that this player should have made that decision, or that player should have went there, or, you know, coaches could have made different decisions, whatever. You know, we don't get paid the same amount of money as those players or coaches, and it's easy for us to sit at home and even after the fact and try to say what they should have done. But at the end of the day, ton of credit goes to LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers. And this is what impresses me the most, Daimeon. I want to get your take on this, that LeBron James was in a position to where his team was the underdog. Nobody expected Cleveland to win this series. The only people that expected Cleveland to win were Cleveland Cavaliers fans or LeBron James fans. I can think back to history, to Kobe, to Mike. Mike never went into the finals as the underdog. The Chicago Bulls were always the better team, you know, and this was a different situation for LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers to be in, and then to go down 3-1 and not have the home court advantage and still come back to win. You know, 2 games on the road, him having 2 41-point games, triple double in Game 7. I just have to tip my hat to LeBron James and just call LeBron James my daddy.
Pierre, I think it was a multitude of things that allowed Cleveland to get back into the series, A, and then B, actually pull off the improbable and win the championship. First and foremost, it was a war, man, so to speak. And attrition, oftentimes happens in war times. Injuries played a little part in that, Steph wasn't 100%. Iguodala was not playing at 100%. Golden State lost Andrew Bogut. Draymond Green was suspended for a game. And I think another reason is that Cleveland, namely two players, LeBron and Kyrie, they just took it upon themselves to do the bulk of the scoring for the Cavaliers. They made it, their mission, to go out with a bang, man. If they were going to lose, it was going to be because they weren't able to make the plays that they needed to make to win the series. And they just ran pick and roll after pick and roll. And Golden State switched everything the entire series. So they would just bring Steph out. Whoever they wanted to have a matchup against, they would bring Steph out. They would bring Clay out, whoever, and just go to work, man. And they were able to, they being LeBron and Kyrie, have outstanding series, and that translated into them winning the championship. And, for anyone who thinks that, the series was rigged, you can't rig winning the championship. It's too many people involved, man, in this sport of basketball to rig the game. That would bring so many people into the mix of players having to tank, of coaches having to make, bad decisions for the series to be rigged. Let's just call it destiny, that it was Cleveland's time. It was Cleveland's year. The curse is broken. Like King Jaffe Joe first said in last week's podcast, I predicted it.
To His Majesty King Jaffe Jaffer, the Royal Palace, Zamunda.
The curse is over, and Cleveland, they are now champions in the city of Cleveland once again. And you will see when football season comes back around that RG3 will be leading the Cleveland Browns to the AFC Championship game.
You don't even believe that, man.
You see, I just tied all of that in, man. I just tied it up like a bow.
Yeah, I got you, man. But hats off to the Cleveland Cavaliers again. Being in that underdog role, coming back from 3-1 to win the series. Got to tip your hat to him. Now with the NBA draft concluding last night, the NBA lottery pretty much went as expected. Ben Simmons number 1, and number 2, my Lakers took Brandon Ingram. Why? I can't really wrap my mind around. I hope this guy turns out to be good, because if not, I'm really starting to lose faith in the front office of the Los Angeles Lakers. You just lose one of the best shooting guards in the history of the league. Why not take the best player in the draft, the best available player who plays shooting guard in Buddy Hield? It boggles my mind, Daimeon.
Pierre, I'm glad you brought that up, but we're going to get into the NBA draft on the other side. And, we'll talk about Simmons, we'll talk about Ingram, we'll talk about, the first 5 picks or so, and just try to gauge what these GMs, what these teams are thinking when they're making these picks.
Also going to talk about a few trades that happen, man. A lot of big trades going down in the NBA right now. A lot of teams looking to reshape their rosters. So going to talk about that on the way back. Also bringing back Bruh for Real this week in the All Things Sport Real MVP. Daimeon, I'm excited.
We're going to be right back on the All Things Sport podcast on Spreaker Radio.
Join us every Friday for the All Things Sport podcast with Daimeon Banks and Pierre Banks on Spreaker Radio.
What up? This is Pierre Banks, and when I'm back in Boone watching the Mountaineers, my first stop is always Mountaineer Mania. The good folks at Mountaineer Mania have the widest selection of app gear, so you can cheer on the Mountaineers in style. T-shirts, hats, hoodies, sweatshirts, decals, cornhole sets. I mean, if you need it, they've got it. So head on down to Mountaineer Mania at 497 West King Street in Boone and tell them I sent you.
We're back with more of the All Things Sport podcast with Daimeon Banks and